Hey everyone, it's Noamori Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Legends. So this video is going to be about the Magic El Colossal event. For those of you that are new to Monster Legends, new to the game, basically the Magic El Colossal events, or the El Colossal events in general, is a 24-hour event in which you can pretty much breed any single monster of a particular element. This time around, it is rumored to be the Magic element. I was going to make this video a couple days ago, but I decided I will make it right before the event is rumored to start. That way you guys can know who to go for. So there's some pretty clear monsters of who to go for, but I'm still going to talk about all of them because I know not everyone is going to have the combination to make the specific monsters we recommend. So I'm going to talk about everyone. A lot of it is just me going through nostalgia, like, oh man, I remember when this monster used to be used and whatnot. But yeah guys, there is ultimately a main monster that I recommend worth getting, but assuming you don't have the combination, then just ultimately go for whoever you think is the best for you. Also, one thing I should emphasize is that I do not personally think it is really worth investing gems for Magic El Colossal events or any El Colossal events, because really your gems should be used towards getting the new Cosmic Mythic monsters, because that is going to be the way you maximize your ability in the game. To be honest, these legendary monsters, they're outdated, they're not really usable, so it's not really advantageous for you to get any of these when you can just spend a minimum of like 150 gems on a brand new Cosmic. So with that being said, also the combinations are not known and they will not be known until the event actually starts, because players need to try out random combinations until we get them. So first and foremost, if you see a little heart icon like you see on Goldfield and Worker Hulk, know that those monsters are permanently breedable, so you do not need to invest in them. So Goldfield, Worker Hulk, and Malaire, those monsters are always breedable, so do not waste your time on them during the breeding events. Next up we have Panda Claws, Cupid, Sun Cookie, Monster Clutch. All of these monsters are super bad. You do not know how bad they are. You should check them out, look at their skills. They're in a whole different level. Look at those stats. 2,000 power, my goodness. Even like next gen legendaries are like 3,000. Look at Pixeline, 3,200. This is 2,400. This is 2,300. These are OG monsters right here. Alright guys, with that being said, yeah, I don't recommend any of these. Monster Clutch actually has a super high power, but the skills just do not make up for it, and the speed and everything. Alright, but scrolling down, Pixeline, I'll talk about him. I remember getting him in the team shop. He was interesting because he's one of those monsters that had different type skills. He had a fire-based attack, he had a freeze skill, a water attack, so he was interesting, but not worth recommending. Reptile can give triple damage, a skill called Glamorize, to one of your allies. It can also do double damage. The ultimate does a mega stun, has a single stun skill. Interesting monster. Oh, I remember when White Panda came out. He can apply negative or random negative effects to the enemy monsters. I really liked it. He also had a single stun skill. I liked him a lot. Shannara, skip that. Galante. Okay, so here is one of the monsters I will actually recommend because he is a breeding joker. And not just Galante, also Violet, and also Galante Jr., and also, wait, no, these three. These three are breeding jokers. This is a really good chance, if you have the babies to make the Galante Jr., Violet, and Galante, you definitely want to pick up one copy of each of them because they are breeding jokers. They're used in every single breeding event involving legendary monsters, so definitely pick them up. And we have Scarred the Outcast. He was the very first time I spent money in the game. I never ever used him, but I love the monster design, and he was the first time the VIP monsters came out. Supposedly it was only supposed to be like 2,000 slots, only 2,000 players would be able to get this monster. Eventually they made it so everyone could get this monster. I mean, he has an epic monster design, still one of my favorites in the game. Not that great of a monster, but I mean, he looks glorious. The only reason he'd be worth getting was for collection purposes. Next we have Kirby. I remember when Kirby came out, it was the anime theme. That's when we had like Anton come out as well. Not worth getting. We have the Lego Blockheart, Toy Master, Egg Eater. Man, I used to main Egg Eater back in the day. AoE Possession, AoE Burn and Blind. Fantastic monster in terms of skill set. Single stun as well, that always landed. Even though it was a 50% chance. However, super slow, but still very fun to use. Violet, like I said, recommend picking up. Singularis, I remember liking Singularis because of the monster design. Skill set wise, not the best. Has a lot of stamina draining skills. Could do death countdown to the enemy, but not really that great of a monster. Lernian was one of the first team race monsters. Maybe like the third team race monster, I think. Also one of the forgotten monsters because this monster was released on like Monster Wiki for a long time, but then he just disappeared. Social Point never released him, and then eventually they released him in the race. So he's like one of the lost monsters. I remember my team actually didn't get this monster because in the early races there was really no way you could win, because if for those OG players, you would know that only the top team in a race in a race pool would get the monster. So my team was always up against teams where it just was not possible. But that is learning, guys. Also has different elemental attacks, as you can tell by the 3 heads. Cool looking monster. I'd only get him for collection purposes, but that's only me personally because I have nostalgia with him, but really not worth getting. We have Mr. Flaky. I don't know how I have this monster at rank 4. What the heck? Probably a lot of events. Gretchen is super fast for legendary, 3575. I believe she can give evasion to your team. Totem, he is the only he's the only spirit monster in the game. He can apply a lot of skills that like increase like stamina, increase life, increase like the actual stat itself, power. I'm not really that good of a monster. He was interesting to use during the Titan invasion because you could really buff an attacker and then deal a bunch of damage, because back in the day you could actually stack over and over and over his attacks, but really not that great of a monster. We have Houdini, Mr. Scratch, Super Tomato. I remember these monsters coming out. Galante Jr. again, I do recommend. Pinky Flash, not a good monster. I remember she does have like a 7 damage attack or something, but yeah, not really that good of a monster. Banditus, not a good monster. Shinaro, the Keeper, everyone, the Keeper. Exclusive team book monster. You can only get him if you get like a bunch of, if you complete certain chapters in the book, you get his monster cells, but really not that great of a monster. I'm not sure why there was so much hype around him other than he's the keeper of the library. The Moon is actually a pretty good monster, but not worth it when there's better ones. Bowtie is a really good like anti-meta monster. Can protect your team. Really great support, but also not recommending. I remember this monster having like an AoE stun and being pretty fast. Yeah, 3498, but probably not worth getting. Shinaro's Bodyguard, I'm surprised they do not have this monster. Probably just because I never invested in Team Shop. Alright, here we go. The first recommendation, really, besides the, obviously the breeding jokers, are the Zyrons. Specifically, there's only one, which you can see that I have maxed out. This was one of the only, this might be actually the only nemesis I have fully maxed out, and it is Zyron the Ruby. Zyron the Ruby, I do recommend getting this monster, and actually I recommend getting this monster and ranking this monster up, and you might be thinking armor, but why legendary monsters aren't used? Well, the nemesis monsters in particular are used for nemesis survival dungeon, and if you've ever seen a nemesis survival dungeon, they have amazing rewards. You get a ton of gems, you also get some orbs to help you get the Warmasters, and you get a diamond relic if you can complete it. So Zyron the Ruby can help you complete that nemesis survival dungeon. So considering there's not really any benefit in using your legendary monsters or using your magic cells or elementium on any legendary monster besides Grakon or Wormlad, and really those monsters are slowly going to die out, maybe not Grakon so much, you might as well invest in nemesis monsters so you can complete nemesis survival dungeon. So definitely pick up Zyron the Ruby. Now, Soldier Point has been releasing a lot of events to get like Zyron the Ruby, Zyron the Emerald. Maybe we'll see more of them in the future. So if anything, it just helps you rank up, because you definitely want to rank up to get the better skills. So Zyron the Ruby is amazing. Definitely invest in the monster. Moving on, we have Dungeon Master. Pretty good monster. Can do Total Blind, CDA, CD deactivation. Good monster. Baron Trader. I remember he was unique because he had a 0 cooldown. Not a 0 cooldown, sorry. He had a 50% chance to trade disable and possession, which is amazing, right? Because even if a monster was immune to possession, you could trade disable, but 50% sucked. But that was back in the day. For those of you that don't know, there was a time when all 50% skills were actually 100%. So he kind of dominated the game for a while. We have our Easter egg monster, Rabuka, Word Skipping, Privateer Morgan Skipping, Devastator, Jellotron. Jellotron, immune to control and a super strong attacker. Also has some lifesteal skills. We have Shade Moon. Oh my gosh, this was one of the worst. Any OG player out there, let me know in the comments below. One of the worst races ever. I don't even want to talk about it, so we're just gonna skip Shade Moon. That was a huge change. We have not available. Okay, cool. This monster starts the game off with a status caster cooldown protection. So if you're going up against, I don't know, he could potentially help you. If you're going up against one of those new cosmics that activate your cooldown, maybe having this monster in your team just can help you out. I do believe his skill set is also pretty good. I never invested in him because this was during the time that Social Play kept releasing new meta monsters every single week. So it's like, what's the point in getting a level 100 monster if you're never going to get him? Wasper, I believe this was a team race monster. He's nothing too glorious. Zygarde's pretty cool. He has Anticipation and he has Resurrection Block. Two amazing traits. And then he has a really, really good skill set here. Let's see if we can actually find him. Zygarde, where are you, buddy? Zygarde, where are you? I'm looking for you. There you are. Rank 2 skills. Alright, let's take a look. Applies possession days to an enemy. Okay, that's whatever. Restores all cooldowns on itself. Gives 1 extra turn. You know how cool that is considering he has Anticipation? If this monster gets a turn in, then you can kind of keep resetting your cooldowns. It's spammable, costs no stamina. Maybe you can get an ult, although it does cost 15% of your total life. Let's see what else you have. An AoE stun and bleed, so you have denial, so you can potentially deny everyone and give them bleed. Nightmares to all enemies and low magic damage. You deal double low magic damage and you give your team stamina regen. Curse to one enemy monster. Guard down positive effects block to enemy monsters. Yeah, so he's cool for the AoE stun and for his trait more than anything. He also has a revival essence and a staff. So Cane of Atlantis, Pump Seed Staff, whatever you need. Pretty good monster. I like Zygarde. I wish I would have had a chance to use him more. Oh cool, they had a new generation button. That's tight. Alright, but let's go back to Magic and scrolling down. So we just went over Zygarde. So Zygarde's pretty good. Madam Fusion is always going to be a good monster because of her evolving trait. If you have her at rank 3, you have Evasion. And you have the Status Caster. Where is it? Status Caster positive effects blocked. So basically, your evasion is protected unless the enemy can remove positive effects twice. So you have a pretty good chance that you have a guaranteed turn-in, which is awesome. And then her skill set is just one of the most amazing skill sets. Unfortunately, I never got this monster. To this day, I still do not have this monster. I know I have a rank 5 because I did exclusive first look. So if I wanted to, I could easily just craft Madam Fusion. But I think that would be unfair for me to get a monster of her caliber just like that. But well, with that being said, she is fantastic. But even then, I really feel like she kind of died out. I don't see her being really usable in a cosmic generation. It's just is what it is. As good as her trait is, as much as you can turn transfer and everything. And really, if she gets a turn in, she's one of those monsters like Warmaster, Thalassa, Grakon. If they get a turn in, they can dominate the game. But specifically, she needs a teammate because she needs to turn transfer over to the teammate. But she can basically trait disable your whole team. She can even make your team weak to specific elements like Thunder or I think even Magic. So Voltic can really deal some damage or any Thunder attacker, Thunderkong even. But really it's a trait disable, remove positive effects, and turn transferring that is just amazing with her. We have Devestress. This is a pretty strong Pierce attacker, but I don't think worth investing in. Soulspoint honestly gives away the sponsor in Monsterwood so much. We have Kronks. This is one of the best elite monsters. I don't think she gets enough credit, probably because there was just some other elite monsters that outshined her, you know, Wormlad and Grakon, but this is probably like the third best monster. So really good, has a lot of denial skills. Here, let's actually take a look at Kronks. You know what, this may be a monster I might invest in just to get to rank 3. So if we look at Kronks, take a look at this. Mega Time Stop. Sorry about that, guys. This will stop the time on the enemy monster for 2 turns, and monster with immune to control cannot block against Mega Time Stop. And then this is a 3-turn death countdown. Normally I hate death countdown, but in a monster that can Mega Time Stop you, death countdown will easily work. And it also does baby reversion, which makes enemies into baby. Yes, Kronks is one of the baby monsters. Can make the enemies babies. You can give triple damage to an ally for 2 turns and transform into a baby. If your monster is immune to control, that's basically a free triple damage for 2 turns. And this skill even gives you an extra turn. So even if your monster is not immune to control, you can triple damage one of your allies, transform that monster into a baby, and then you can go on and Mega Time Stop the enemy monster, assuming you rank this monster to rank 4. I mean, you can just read through the skills. You have another Time Stop AoE here. You have a baby reversion here. You have a Time Stop extra turn here. I mean, this is like, skill set wise, it's like on Kronks. It's like, Kronks is like on Grakon's level in terms of the skill set. Fantastic. Unfortunately, this monster does not have a revival relic. If this monster had a revival relic, I think this monster would be on par with Grakon. But yeah, I mean, fantastic monster. So I would invest in Kronks as well. It's an elite monster. You definitely want to pick it up, right? Elite monster, a little harder to get than your conventional legendaries. This is a pretty good monster. It has CDA and a lot of torture. I think it was just towards the end of the legendary era, so it didn't really get much usage, but pretty good. And laser beam is not breedable, so now we're talking about. So overall, my #1 recommendation is honestly Zyron the Ruby, just for Nemesis Survival Dungeon. Second is the Breeding Jokers, Galante Violet and Galante Jr. And then Kronks, Madam Fusion, I would say, and everyone else doesn't really matter. So I hope this video was helpful, guys. Best of luck to all of you during the Magic El Colossal event whenever it's released, which will probably be like in like 2 or 3 days. Probably by tomorrow you'll see a pop-up saying, hey guys, there's an event coming up in 24 hours. So I hope this video was helpful, especially if you don't have the combinations to get the specific Magic Legendary you want. Also, be careful with investing a lot of your time and resources, because we also have a race coming up, and typically this is 1 day before the race, although from what I remember the race monster isn't that great. So I don't know, maybe you should just invest in Zyron the Ruby. So I hope this video was helpful, guys. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you agree, disagree, any thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much, and remember to subscribe.